Happening right now at noon, the House Minority Leader continues to speak on the House floor. Hakeem Jeffries has been speaking now for 7 hours. The representative is trying to prevent the passage of President Trump's spending cuts and tax bill, also known as the Big Beautiful Bill. The president is pushing to have the bill on his desk by tomorrow, July 4th. Alice Barr reports from Washington, D.C.
Passed the one big beautiful bill.
After a grueling legislative battle, House Republicans appear poised to pass President Trump's massive tax and spending bill, following all-night delays, with the top Democrat in the House speaking for hours against the bill.
On behalf of the American people, on behalf of their health care, on behalf of their Medicaid, on behalf of their nutritional assistance.
Before finally voting to move ahead, President Trump worked the phones and aired his frustration, posting after midnight, "What are the Republicans waiting for?" Earlier in the day, he met with holdout Republicans at the White House, looking to ease concerns over the bill's spending, adding substantially to the deficit.
I think we got some good information from the president.
While moderate, Brian Fitzpatrick was ultimately the only Republican voting no on the procedural step, along with all Democrats, who slammed federal aid cuts projected to cost more than 11 million Americans their health insurance.
The largest cut to health care in our history, the largest transfer of wealth from working families to the billionaire class.
The extraordinary things in this bill are so important for the American people.
GOP leaders adamant the bill's key components, extending the Trump tax cuts while funding defense and deportations. And the president, who wants it all done, will prove too popular for Republicans to turn down. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
We'll continue to keep an eye on that, of course. Thank you so much for joining us here at noon. And it is another warm and sunny day outside. But we're not complaining. No, we won't complain. We'll do our best not to. Because tomorrow is 4th of July. Matt Standridge is here. He's getting us ready. Of course, everybody has their eyes on this big day, this big weekend. I like working with Matt. I don't get to work with him a lot.
I'm not complaining at all, because when I saw you in the meeting this morning, I thought, uh-oh, do I get to work with Felicia? So I'm super excited. It could be hotter and it could be more humid than it is, but it's going to be toasty the next couple of days. I want to let you know kind of what our fireworks forecast is looking like too. Let's go ahead and get to some numbers out there, Felicia, and a beautiful look at our sky cameras across the area too. A lot of sunshine, no rain out there, but we do have a couple clouds bubbling up. But Felicia, I can tell you, if you're at the pool deck this afternoon or evening, maybe you're headed to the lake, it's not necessarily one of those days where you're watching the clouds and thinking, okay, that one's getting a little bigger, that one could drop a rain shower. Most of us are just going to pass on by. You'll be able to look at the shapes, and they're kind of fun to look at this time of year. But it's warm, it's humid. It is July. It's crazy how much temperatures have quickly warmed up since this morning. We're starting off in the low and mid 60s for many of us north of Indy, but now we have a lot of mid 80s. It's 85, good afternoon in Muncie, 82 for the Lebanon Tigers. Closer to Indianapolis, a lot of those mid 80s from Danville to Greenfield. Richmond sitting at 83, 85 for the Arties, and a lot of mid 80s close to Lake Monroe. It's 84 right now in Bloomington and 81 in Rush County. Good afternoon for the Lions. The humidity is slowly going up. Now, it's not bad. It was a lot lower yesterday. Went up a little bit more today, and day by day, Felicia, as we get to the 4th and throughout the 4th of the July weekend, your humidity is going to go up quite a bit. So coming up, we're going to let you know when we think the most humid day will be, and maybe when the next chance for a rain shower or thunderstorm will pass on by.
All right, we can plan out our weekend. Thank you so much, Matt. We'll check back in. And now to your headlines this afternoon. One person was shot and another person suffered a graze wound in a shooting at a Northeast Side apartment complex. That shooting happened just before 4 this morning on Meadows Lane, which is near 38th and Keystone. Now, when police got there, they found a person shot. And they told our crew at the scene that person is awake and breathing. Later, another person was found with a graze wound. Police tell us they did detain a person of interest at the scene. Officers did hear more gunshots while they were investigating this shooting. No other information is being shared at this moment. We're going to monitor what police are doing. Turning now to a death investigation on the city's northwest side. Police confirming that a man was found dead in water near 86th in Michigan around 1 yesterday afternoon. It is actually not clear this afternoon how that man got in the water or how long he had been there. So we're working to learn how he died and his identity. We'll stay on top of this case as well and bring you some updates once we get them. A Lafayette father will be spending 32 years in prison. This sentence stems from a case where his 5-year-old son got a hold of a gun and then killed the boy's then 1-year-old brother.
We had here drug dealing parents who had loaded guns in the house that were obviously not stored properly.
It all unfolded inside an apartment back in March of 23. Investigators say both boys also had drugs in their system. Deontay Johnson was charged with multiple counts, including neglect of a dependent, resulting in death.
I would just like to apologize to my family, friends, and the community. I asked that he showed a tad bit of leniency on my sentence, and apologize to my children for the tragic situation that has occurred.
Now, as part of his sentence, Johnson cannot have contact with his surviving son. The mother of the boys, Shatia Welch, took a plea deal back in February and got 6 years in prison. And an update this afternoon on a severe case of animal abuse in Marion County. It involves a woman who was already sentenced to 30 months in prison back in 2021 for crushing animals. Now she and 2 others are charged after officers found a dozen animals in a U-Haul living in grim conditions. Logan Gay tells us what else they found in that U-Haul.
Kyle Christie says he sees things a little differently since the day he and his neighbor met Crystal Scott, Crystal Bunch, and Tristan Cannon.
In some ways, maybe even a little more paranoid. Just whenever I see dogs with people, I'm a little less trusting and just think things that I never thought before, which honestly isn't great, but I guess I'm on the lookout.
Now, Scott, Bunch, and Cannon have been charged with cruelty to animals in Marion County, but the investigation started last month. Chrissy tells me he and his neighbors found a German Shepherd and had to hand him over to the group after they showed up and Scott claimed the dog was hers. Chrissy says that encounter raised red flags and led to a little detective work. He and his sister uncovered Scott's history of animal abuse in Howard County, sentenced for killing more than a dozen animals and posting the video on social media. He says they went looking for the 3 people, finding them in a U-Haul in a Hardee's parking lot. Then he flagged police. We just got court documents in this most recent case that lay out the disturbing allegations of what came next. The documents say authorities found 12 animals, dogs and cats inside with no food or water. They say some of the kennels were so small the animals had no room to sit down without lying on their own urine and feces. According to those court documents, officers said the van smelled like dead animals. One of the officers reportedly found animal body parts in the van and dog collars with tags. Given Scott's history, Chrissy says he had his suspicions.
So that's not necessarily a shock, but to learn the details of it, it's not pleasant, and it just confirms your worst fears.
Indianapolis Animal Care Services took custody of all the animals, but no word on what happened to Bruno, that German Shepherd.
It's probably not the most realistic thing in the world to think that he's alive, but we haven't heard anything otherwise. So we're still holding out hope that we find Bruno.
Court documents say Cannon told officers they got many of the animals from social media. Christie says that's a big takeaway.
You need to do some vetting and make sure the people that are coming to pick up your dogs have good intentions.
And for good reason. In Indianapolis, Logan Gay, 13 News.
Well, chances are you'll either be watching some fireworks or setting some off this weekend yourself. But if you're planning to do a DIY fireworks show, well, how much could that cost you really? Well, the answer actually comes down to where you look for your fireworks. So we talked to some local fireworks shop owners who say costs have gone down recently, despite worries that tariffs would drive them up. Others that we talked to who regularly buy fireworks say they are glad they bought theirs last year because prices seem to fluctuate.
So we used to get a container. The shipping on it was about $5,000 for a container. It went up to about $40,000 during COVID, during the supply chain issues, and then it went back down to about $30,000, and it's kind of stayed there.
Another tip, if you're planning your own fireworks show, make sure to check the ordinances where you live before lighting off any fireworks. And of course, always follow safety tips like keeping lots of water around and keeping everybody back away from the fireworks at a safe distance. That can really help save lives and limbs. And if you'd rather not set off your own fireworks and watch a show instead, don't forget about Downtown Indy's 4th Fest. It kicks off with a street festival at 6 o'clock Friday night at the American Legion Mall and then wraps up with fireworks, which will begin at 10:15 p.m.